Hello everyone, it's me Doomlink and welcome to a new Doomlink update video. I don't really know if you understand what you're seeing right now. What you are possibly hearing is birds outside. If not, then I shouldn't have said anything. But this is an update video where I'll be talking about a few things, and one of those things will relate to what you're seeing right now. I don't know if you really understand the significance of it. The significance of it is twofold. The first point is that I'm recording this at all, I've been talking about how my capture card cannot record these sorts of things right now. Turns out that it can, it's just there was a misunderstanding. Second of all, I don't know if the quality of this is obvious to you. If you remember my previous recordings of Zelda Wind Waker for Japan, or the Japanese version, that's how you would phrase that, Doomlink, for Japanese, yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know if you remember those recordings, but they didn't look like this. This is a little better looking than those ones, and the reason why is because I finally received, and I'm supposed to have this on hand, I actually had more to set up for this recording than I was first expecting, because this ended up being something of a first-time setup for the video that you're seeing right now, because this is actually being recorded through the digital output of the GameCube. And what that would indicate is that I have the GameCube component cable. And it is the GameCube component cable, but it's not. It's actually the alternative to that, which I bought last year, but only received about 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago. I can show you the package itself. I don't know if that comes up very well. It's this cable, basically. You can see that it's not actually component on that end. Hold on. It's not component on that end. I'm trying not to get the chroma key to bite into it too hard, but anyway. I'll likely show that again a little bit further ahead in the update video. But, yeah, let me just pop out this chat. 7 people watching. You guys are awesome. How can there be 7 of you watching this? There's no category that it's streaming on, and I only gave notice of this recording in my Discord, so it's great to see you all here, thanks. But yeah, so I finally managed to get that shipped to me. It's not actually a component cable, it's a D-terminal cable. Now, D-terminal is an exclusively Japanese connector type, or video connection type, which therefore needs to actually be converted into something that my TV will recognize, but specifically that my capture card will recognize, and that ends up being component. So I have an adapter from D-terminal to component, so it's actually a bit of a colossal system. I mean, the connector that goes into the GameCube is big enough on its own, like it's a really big thing. It's, I guess, comparable to the, that really fat connector on the Xbox 360. I don't know if you remember that. That was designed to, yeah, that did connect into the Xbox 360, didn't it? Kind of like a SCART cable, kind of like that, similar size, not as big as a SCART cable, but, almost as big, just a big fat thing. And then on top of that, I've got this fucking adapter going on for the D-terminal and all that. It's pretty involved. But the result is 480p progressive scan, as opposed to 480i. I don't even know if it's 480i, it's more like 280i or some crap like that. It might end up being 480 through AV, I'm not entirely sure. But, I mean, this, I would like to think, is an obvious improvement over what it was. And what I like about that is that it's being achieved naturally. It's not some upscale to HDMI, and quite frankly, an HDMI upscale doesn't look this good, because it does actually look a little bit, I don't really know how to say, I don't know how to describe it other than by saying that it looks synthetic when you upscale with some HDMI thing on your GameCube. This has more detail to it in actual fact, and it's really nice. I'm very happy that I have this. Now, as far as what's going on with, I'll probably have to relocate from this island because, quite frankly, I don't want to be shot at the whole fucking time. I'll find somewhere to sail and then I'll get talking. I'll probably just sail for this whole recording. Looks like my wind is pointing in a direction that I don't want it to be pointing, so I will go and point it elsewhere. Now, I've been talking about the fact that I can't record with the capture card that records non-HDMI games. It turns out that this is actually not true. It turns out that there's only one specific console that I can't record in that way. And it might even be one specific connection type that I can't record that way. The day that I thought that my capture card had stopped working, and I'll return to a point, or rather get onto a point later on, that relates to why I was very quick to assume that it had basically failed on me. The moment when I thought that it had died was when I was trying to connect my PlayStation 2 through a component cable while playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is a PlayStation 1 game. The connection was successfully established with my capture card, but nothing was actually being received by the software. It was just a black screen and no audio. So it actually recognized the resolution of whatever was being outputted by my PS2, but it couldn't receive anything, and I've never run into that before. Generally, what you do under those circumstances is you'd play around with the software to try and get the correct, for example, you've got different choices like PlayStation 3, Other. I always select Other for these sorts of recordings because it's not in the list. It has a list of modern consoles like, Xbox One and Switch. Switch isn't there, so I usually select, or rather Wii U isn't there, so I usually select Switch when I'm recording the Wii U. But, interestingly, it just, no matter what I selected, would not give me any video, and I tried it again today just to see if something was wrong. And, something was still wrong. And I haven't yet tried it with AV cables. It's possible that if I'm recording a PlayStation 1 game, there's a problem with component video out. That's possibly what it is. Hey, Potato. So, with that in mind, I might have to actually use AV cables to record the PlayStation 1 games that I'll want to play. Of course, there is more troubleshooting that needs to be done. I would have to first try recording, or maybe even without having to swap the cable out, I would swap the disc. So I would try recording Lament of Innocence with the component cable and see if that works. And then also try to record Symphony of the Night with an AV cable. If both of those two things work, but Symphony of the Night with a component cable doesn't work, then I've figured out the issue. For some reason, whatever the PlayStation 2 outputs when playing a PlayStation 1 game doesn't work with component. Now the strange thing is that it connects to my TV just fine and it looks better. It is a visual improvement over AV, but my capture card doesn't like it, which is saying a lot because my capture card likes anything. Like the Elgato Game Capture HD is shockingly versatile. If it's got a video signal, it'll pick it up, but for some reason, and this is why I thought my capture card had died, for some reason this was not picking up. It didn't make sense to me. The reason why I thought it had died is because it really is sort of on its last legs, not in a real sense. It's more like one specific component is a bit fucked, and that is the mini USB port, which is not properly soldered to the board. And as a result, it wiggles around just slightly, just enough to cause connection problems. What you're seeing right now is being achieved by having a cable connected that cannot be touched. If I touch that cable, connection will be lost and everything's fucked, basically. It's a very, very sensitive matter in that I cannot touch that, otherwise we're going to have a problem. So, the word sensitive isn't quite what I was looking for, but you know what I mean. I'm just checking how it visually looks. No, it's not too dark, it looks good. Everything looks great. I'm really happy with the way the game looks. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. And it was a long time coming to get this cable, by the way. But yeah, so I did really think that finally, after having so many problems with mini USB, it had finally conked out and wasn't even able to send video to my computer anymore. Turns out that that's actually not what was happening. It was console side rather than to do with the capture card. Thanks for the resub, Arexian. And hello, Autonomic. Yeah, it's sort of Wind Waker time. I'm just here right now playing the game so that you have something to see while I'm chatting away. But yeah, long story short, and this isn't the only topic that I'll be covering in this update video. It is an update video just to talk about, well, as it always is with an update video, it's to talk about the state of, you know, my channel and what I do and all of that. So no, you know, drastic, sudden updates, but just talking about how things are. So yeah, to end that topic of discussion, I am able to continue recording non-HDMI games. I just have to troubleshoot my PlayStation 2 to see what's happening with that, and I think I will be able to solve the problem. Worst case scenario, I'll have to record Symphony of the Night with AV, which I can live with. That's alright. I don't know why that's the case, and maybe with a little bit of Googling I'd be able to figure out why, but there you go. There will probably come a time when I'll have to open up my Elgato Game Capture HD and resolder that mini USB thing. But I don't have the tools to do that on hand now, and I don't think I'll have them on hand for a little while yet, just because I don't I don't want to make those purchases right now. I've got other things that I'm purchasing, which will allow me to segue into another conversation relating to what I have recently been purchasing. I made the decision to get much like I got my hands on a Japanese GameCube, the results of which you're seeing right now. The result is that I can play this game here, the Japanese Wind Waker, and, oh whoops, I've gone and sailed too far. Yes, I know, King of Red Lions, do forgive me. That's how far, or that's how much I've recorded so far. That's a good indicator. So, let's now point ourselves this way. But yeah, much like I purchased a Japanese GameCube and the Japanese Zelda games, of which I currently, or what I currently own is Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Four Swords Adventures. Still haven't played Four Swords Adventures in Japanese on camera. Don't know when I'm actually going to do that. That's an interesting thought, now that I think about it. But, yeah. I've gone and purchased a Japanese Nintendo 64. It's a gold Nintendo 64, in fact. And I have purchased both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask in Japanese for that system. I don't have Majora's Mask in my hands yet, and I probably won't have it in my hands for another 2 weeks. But I do have Ocarina of Time, and I was playing it yesterday. And I ran into another interesting issue that I haven't run into before, much like the problem that I had with my PlayStation 2 not outputting a signal that Elgato could actually comprehend or, I guess, translate into whatever would allow me to see it through the software. I don't know how that all works, but anyway. So, for some reason, a Japanese Nintendo 64 outputs at some kind of resolution that my television cannot recognize. Usually what happens is that it's the other way around. Your television will have like a minimum resolution that the... I'm trying to explain this without confusing myself. Basically, I'll tell you what the problem is in my case. The television that I have cannot display a resolution as low as that, but I don't even know if it's a resolution problem. This is just something that I had determined through Googling, but I don't think that's true, because I can, without difficulty, display my Super Nintendo on my television, so why would it be that a Nintendo 64 and its resolution would not display? I don't understand it. I'm guessing it has something to do with the fact that it's a Japanese console. The fact that it's a Japanese console is causing some weird connection to my television. I haven't yet tried to see if it can connect to my capture card properly. Now that's a different situation, or a different thing that I'd have to confirm. And you think I would have confirmed that by now, but I haven't. But part of the reason why is because I wanted to wait until today to actually establish well and truly if my capture card was still going to work, and it is still working, so I'll have to go and see if the Nintendo 64 that I have recently purchased, the Japanese one, will actually work with the capture card. But I found out that it actually works through AV cables directly to my TV. If I connect it directly to my TV, which is not how it works usually when I'm using my capture card, it does actually work. What I usually do is connect the AV to my capture card, and then it's an HDMI connection to my TV through the capture card, and then there is a USB connection to my computer to receive the video and audio input that is, you know, circulating within the the capture card. I don't know if circulating is correct. I don't know if that's how the signal works, but that's one way to illustrate it. But yeah, we're going to see what happens with that. I don't know when I'm going to actually record any Japanese Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. I wouldn't expect it anytime soon. I've got a lot of other things to work on, so it's more of a personal thing for the moment. I may as well show you the Ocarina of Time game. I've physically got it here. This is it. I'm going to try to demonstrate it. I understand that it's far away, but if I bring it closer, the chroma key will shit itself or something. I don't know if you can really see that properly. It's in a much more sensible box than... I'm about to fucking collide with an island. But yeah, it's in a much more sensible box than what was shipped in the West, unsurprisingly. It's exactly the same with the GameCube games. It was... is the chroma key still going to bite into this? Yeah, it still bites into that a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't know, I'll try to show that close. See? That's the cable that I'm using right now to show you what you're seeing on the screen. And of course, the funny thing is that there is no audio connector here. This is purely a video connector, which means that two cables have to be used. I neglected to mention that. You actually need... it's this colossal of a setup. You need to have both the AV cable and the... well, what is in my case a D-terminal cable connected to your GameCube so that you can use the audio cables of the AV cable in conjunction with the digital output thing. So it's crazy. It's a big setup, and quite frankly I think it's worth it, so I'm not too concerned about it. Hello, Hossein. So yeah, that is something in the pipeline for later, the whole Japanese Nintendo 64 stuff. And in the meantime, I'm going to be playing Ocarina of Time in my own time, and I was really wanting to do Majora's Mask first, but that's alright, I can play Ocarina of Time first. I'm enjoying it, it's interesting. I think it's going to be my first time playing the original version of the game, where you've got the so-called Islamic chant in the Fire Temple and all that business. I don't think I've played that version. You have to understand that my first experience with Ocarina of Time was the GameCube version, which was the 1.2 version. That was the third version of the Fire Temple music. And interestingly, I don't know, I guess it's 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2, I guess is how it works. So assuming that that's the correct naming, the 1.1 version is the PAL Nintendo 64 version. So if you recall my livestream playthrough of Ocarina of Time that I did, that still had the moon symbols on the blocks, but the Fire Temple music was not the original chant. So that actually offers a bit of chronology to the to the grievances of the Islamic community, because clearly that was what they took issue with initially, and then they also were like, wait, hold on, what's this symbol on the blocks? You know? So then Nintendo had to make a second amendment to the game files, and that was kind of annoying for them, I would imagine, but they wanted to keep them happy, and history has told us that it's a good thing to keep them happy. But, yeah, they weren't able to do that as far as, you know, making the changes to the blocks with the... It's not just the blocks, it's also the mirror shield. The mirror shield also has that symbol, that moon and the star symbol. And that change wasn't able to be implemented until the GameCube release, and then obviously any virtual console release after that point. And no doubt the 3DS version as well. Oh, Nintendo has a no religion policy. Well, this is the thing. I don't think that's really what it is. I think it has more to do with that, because it was not added in there for religious purposes. This is the thing. But I think, you know... Well, maybe it is the fact that they were concerned that people would interpret it religiously. Maybe that's the thing, but... yeah, I always imagined that it was appeasement, but... yeah, I suppose maybe their concern was that it would be interpreted in a religious way. The way I looked at it was, they didn't mean it in a religious way, so it was fine, but they wanted to appease the people who were taking issue with it. But I suppose the mere interpretation of it being religious is, you know, what they would want to avoid. Doesn't matter what their intentions were. But anyway, the point is that the Nintendo 64 version that I currently have should be the 1.0 version, because that's the Japanese version. The PAL version was 1.1 because it released later as compared to the US and Japanese versions. So here's hoping that there wasn't some re-release in Japan that I might possibly have. It's possible that you'd get re-releases in Japan because these things remain relevant in Japan for longer. So, like for example, you can still go into stores today in Japan and get brand new Nintendo 64s and the like. It's what it is, because they're a bit of a different country over there. They appreciate things of the past a little more. I think I'm reaching the top. Yes, I am. So let's turn. Go across here. That was a bit creepy. Come to think of it. Damn it. Wait, do I? That's a good question. Did I remember to turn off my hard drive enclosure? I think I did. Yeah, I don't have it on. Good. I would have been really annoyed if this recording had background hum the whole time. But there's a truck in the street, I think, so now that's creating some low-frequency hum. Good. So, yeah, as I said, I'll be playing some Ocarina of Time in my own time, and that should be good fun. And I'll be keeping the Discord community updated on when I receive Majora's Mask, if you care. I don't know if there's anything else that I would get on the Japanese Nintendo 64 for the moment. Probably not. I was planning on, at some point, doing a livestream playthrough of Diddy Kong Racing. That was absolutely on the agenda for a period of time. But for some reason, Pokemon Snap took precedence over that. I don't know why. I think part of the reason why was because I was expecting it to be a really dumb game that I'd be able to make fun of, but it was actually kind of fun. I really do think Pokemon Snap is a fair game for its era. So I wasn't really able to make fun of it. So, I mean, there were moments in time when there was laughter to be had, but it was mostly frustration that arose as a result of me taking the game somewhat seriously. So that was interesting. But, yeah, you might have noticed, next topic, you might have noticed that, I think was it yesterday or the day before? It was the day before. So I have uploaded for the first time a video for the Phantom Hourglass Let's Play. And it's just as well, isn't it, that I thought that my capture card that I'm using right now was out of commission, because that forced me to go and pick up Phantom Hourglass again, and now I'm in the mood to actually record it. So I will, regardless of the fact that I am actually able to use this capture card still, which is, you know, against what I had, or, you know, contrary to what I had thought before, I will prioritize Phantom Hourglass. That will be something that I get completed because I did start that 2 years ago. That is a priority. In direct contradistinction to that, we have the Minish Cap, which I started like 7 months ago, if even. And it's about the same for A Link to the Past. A Link to the Past, I think I started about 2 months before. And I had stopped that much sooner than I had expected to because I lost my save while recording the fucking Let's Play. I'm just glad that I didn't lose the save later on down the line. That would have been really bad. That would have been terrible. But it was only like... I had only just reached the Dark World, I think. I think I had completed the first dungeon of the Dark World. And then my save battery died on that cartridge. So, you know, that's one downside to recording off an original cartridge for sure. But I will definitely get a replacement battery and resolder that onto that cartridge. One thing that I should note, actually, is that the Ocarina of Time, the Japanese version, probably has a save battery in it, so I'm going to have to be careful about that. I'm going to have to open it up, see if it's been replaced. If it hasn't, then, you know, just to be sure, I should replace it when I can. But again, I don't really have the hardware that would allow me to do that at this time, so we'll see what happens. But Phantom Hourglass is going to be completed soon. But here's the problem with that. I want to also do Spirit Tracks. That's not necessarily a problem. The reason why I say that's a problem is because I've got a lot of Let's Plays going currently for Zelda, but maybe I shouldn't worry so much about that. Maybe I should just record as many as I want. The reason why I don't want too many Zelda Let's Plays going on concurrently is because that was a problem that I used to have in the old days of Let's Playing. And back when I was first Let's Playing, it was the fact that I would start a Let's Play and I would never finish it. And the reason why that happened was because I started so many different Let's Plays all at the same time. You know, I would do a Let's Play, record like 5 or 6 videos and then start another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then eventually you've got like 10 different Let's Plays, all with like 10 or less parts recorded for them, and it becomes something that's quite difficult to juggle. And so I don't want a repeat of that. I learnt my lesson back then, and so I do want to be a little bit more measured, a little bit more prudent with how I actually engage in Let's Playing. It needs to be done with a little bit more finesse than that. I can't just be sitting here going, I feel like Let's Playing this game, so I'm going to go Let's Play that right now. In fact, it's that that gives rise to, you know, this many Zelda games going on at the moment. But I am able to stop myself from going further. But yeah, I will do Spirit Tracks basically immediately after. I haven't purchased it yet. I hope the Wii U store's still, like, accessible. I remember when I purchased, was it in 2017 or 2018 when I bought Phantom Hourglass? I did actually record a video of when I did that. It's going to be in the same playlist. It's the Doomlink Updates playlist. I did a Doomlink update of me actually downloading that. I was essentially sitting there in the store expressing my surprise and excitement that it was in the store at all. I didn't even know. It's not like I checked online to see what options I had for recording Phantom Hourglass. I really didn't do that. I just happened to be in the store one day, in the Wii U store, and Phantom Hourglass was in there, and I absolutely dumped ass and got my fucking, you know, video capture ready, and I went and recorded an update video going, holy shit, Phantom Hourglass is in the Wii U store. And surprisingly, the algorithm picked that up. I don't think it has many views, but it has more than you'd expect. It has like maybe 150, maybe more by now, I don't know. But the point is that, yeah, that wasn't just my audience watching that. I don't know why. It's very, very weird. But I have given up on the YouTube algorithm. It is not something that can be predicted. But, yeah, where should I go now? Let's go, I suppose, southeast. But yeah, Spirit Tracks is something that I'm going to start recording. Hopefully I can purchase that when I am ready to record it. I would imagine that if the Wii U store had closed, I would have been informed of that by now, so it should still be open. It took a while for the Wii store to close, So, the reason why I was thinking that the Wii U store would close sooner, and this is something that I was expressing concern about in that recording that I did many years ago, when I first bought Phantom Hourglass on the Wii U store, the reason why I thought that was because of how willing I think Nintendo would be to abandon everything relating to the Wii U, which would therefore include the store. But, you know, it's money for them, isn't it? I mean, there are people who own Wii U's who are still buying from the store, I would imagine. I guess the reason why they close the store is when the management of the store starts to cost more money than what they're pulling in by keeping it open. I don't know how that works. I don't know much about the process that goes into managing an online store like that, but I would imagine that is the logic behind it. Obviously, with the Wii store, it was closed because basically no one was buying anything from it anymore, so they just closed it down. More than what they were willing to manage at the time. So, there you go. As far as the OLED Switch, I'm not going to be picking it up, and I mean, I understand that you asked the question as a topical point, but to ask it as a question as if there's like a possibility that I would get it, I mean, you know me better than that. As if I'm going to be buying a fucking OLED Switch, you've got to be joking. If your average gamer's not going to bother picking it up, imagine me. I'm not going to be sitting here going, yeah, I'm going to pick up my OLED Switch so I can play it outside. You've got to be joking. My Switch is permanently docked, and that might be bad for it, I don't know, but I treat it as a stationary console because I don't care about portable consoles. I realize some people have a need for portable consoles, they have a use for them, and I will admit that in many ways the Switch far surpasses the previous portable consoles in the portable console space. Like, if you consider the Switch to be a portable console rather than a stationary console, which is the correct way to evaluate it, comparatively, because otherwise, obviously it falls far short of the current stationary consoles of the era. If you look at it as a portable console, it's great, but I don't treat it that way. I have never intended to use my Switch as a portable console, and I certainly don't see any other reason why I would get an OLED Switch. Switch Pro is something that I could possibly purchase, but I don't even know about that because I don't think I have anything that I would want to play that would require a Switch Pro. There would be a higher chance of me getting a Switch Pro than the OLED one. So, yeah. But even then, not a high chance. Not a high chance. Yeah, I don't think they will make a docked-only Switch. That would be a waste of money. Absolutely would go against the entire point of the Switch, and it's, there's a reason why they decided to make one console instead of a handheld and a stationary console. There's a reason why they did that. It's because it's actually better for them to do that on a fiscal level and on an advertising level. They don't have to have two separate lines, like a portable games line and then a stationary console games line. And they also don't have to manage two separate consoles and worry about whether or not the stationary console is going to do well. Obviously, the Wii U was working towards that, but they didn't have the technology. I mean, they had the technology, but they weren't able to deliver it in a cost-effective way, so therefore the technology didn't quite meet the vision. Therefore, we had the gamepad and all of that business, and that did not sell the console at all. People were not interested. They also fucked up the advertising. People thought that the Wii U was the gamepad, because that's all they showed. They never showed the actual main console itself. So, yeah, people thought the Wii U was the gamepad. I thought the Wii U was the gamepad for a period of time. So, yeah, they fucked up with the advertising there. And of course, they do not want to have to compete with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox, whatever the fuck they want to call it now. They should have just made it... Why didn't they name it 720? Why didn't they name it Xbox 720? I mean, did they really think that what they had come up with was a better idea? This is the thing. You don't have to call it the Xbox 720. You are under absolutely no obligation, Microsoft, to follow the expectations of the gaming community. If anything, it's better to, throw them a curveball and surprise them with something else. But if you don't have a better idea, just go with that. Xbox One. It's like, yeah, right. Xbox One. Anyway, that's an outdated complaint. So, my current situation with the channel is that I will be focusing on Let's Plays if I can. As much as I can, I will focus on Let's Plays. I mean, it is an absolute reality that everything that's not Monster Hunter on my channel pulls in less views. But the crazy thing is we're not talking about a lot of views regardless. Like, it's the difference between, like, 60 views and 10. So, I mean, it's sort of like, what am I going to eat today? Am I going to eat food scraps out of the bin? Or am I going to eat week-old moldy bread? You know, it's really, that's what you choose. Well, if anything, that sounds like the same thing. But the point is that no matter what, it's not very impressive. So, I mean, you have to, at some point, realize that you have to do what you want first and foremost. So, that is what I'm going to focus on. And I will be doing a lot of Dark Souls as well. I mean, I don't have, like, a community that wants to watch Souls anymore. They all departed long ago. I was recording Demon Souls pretty frequently when I was first getting into live streaming, and I had an audience watching that, and then I stopped recording Demon Souls for like a month, and they fucked right off. Like, they were gone. Absolutely nowhere to be seen. I mean, admittedly, I did stop recording Demon Souls for longer than that, but what I mean to say is that when I had stopped recording it for a month before my big hiatus period, that's when I had lost most of my viewers, and then I think I lost the rest during that hiatus period. But yeah, that's the reality. I mean, if it's so easy to lose an audience, what it leads to is the devaluation of the audience on the part of the content creator. It's just what it is. Like, you don't value that which is so easily lost anymore. You would think that it would be the opposite, but it's actually not, because a person has to at some point develop a level of self-respect, and it would actually be beneath my dignity to bend to the will of such a fickle audience. And I love all of you who stick around, I really do. I value you. Those of you who stick around and enjoy what I do, I absolutely value you. Let that be very clear. But a person like myself who really has been unsuccessful in, I guess, finding a reasonably sized audience over the course of 12 years of recording videos, you know, such a person has to at some point let it all go and just say, I'm going to do what I want to do. And, you know, to an extent, yes, that which is going to pull in more views will take priority, but, you know, I don't really, that's not going to stop me from recording something that I know no one's going to watch. My current Phantom Hourglass recording up on YouTube is actually getting a little bit of views, you know, I think it's already on like 10 already, wow. And that's only because it's the first one in a while. People are checking it out going, what the fuck is this? And then the next one's going to be just an absolute bomb. It's just like no one's going to watch it, but that's fine, because it's what I want to record and I'm going to enjoy the process. So there you go. My update videos are an occasion for me to speak about these things, which, you know, some people don't want to hear. People don't want to hear the reality behind the content creation, but, you know, throwing yourself into a void is a little tiresome. It really is, and that's sometimes what the experience is like. But the problem is I almost don't even know how to completely explain my position, because it's more nuanced than that. There's a lot going on there. But let me say one thing. I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy the community interaction that I have. It's just, it is natural for a person to attach value and importance, ultimately, to view counts. And getting such small numbers over such a long period of time does weigh on you after a while. Even if you enjoy doing it no matter what, even if you like having this small community, there is still that weight that's in the back of your mind, that is the fact that, you know, no one really is watching, and Like, no significant number. The thing is, I would never want a large community. I would never want, like, lots of people watching. And I would never get that for the reason that I record stuff that large groups of people don't want to watch. But, you know, I wouldn't mind getting a consistent 1,000 instead of a consistent 10. You know, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about, like, tens of thousands. That's not, I don't want that. That's already too much. That's more than what I want. But, you know, a community of consistent viewers, you know, a few hundred consistent viewers, I'd like that. That'd be good. That'd be a lot for me. And I'd enjoy that. You know, that's intimate enough. It's when you've got consistent viewers in the tens of thousands and in the hundreds of thousands where there's no intimacy anymore. It's gone. It's lost. And I don't want that at all. But, yeah, I mean, I will say that the current situation is already an improvement over what it was in the past. You know, the fact that I've actually got a community of people who turn up, and I love that. And I love being able to talk to you guys. That's why I value people talking in my live streams, not just having a conversation. At the end of the day, some people don't consume live streams in that way, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. If a person wants to watch a live stream but doesn't want to communicate frequently in the chat, that's alright. What I value is for people to make themselves known so that I know who you are, I know that you're watching, and that I know that I'm doing it for someone, as opposed to some number that is fleeting. This number that goes up and down and up and down, and there is no person attached to those numbers. It's just weird. It's hollow and it's dead. That's why I don't even check the view counts. Like, I never do a live stream with a viewer count visible because it's dumb. It's literally like a nothing. There is nothing attached to that view count number that has any real meaning or value to it in my mind. What I deem to be valuable is people making themselves known in the chat saying, hey, I'm watching. Not that they literally say that, but in saying something in the chat, that is a statement of, hey, I'm watching, and I love that because that's a person who's watching me. And then they follow me, and then that's recognition that they're enjoying what I do. That's all I ask for. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I deride people who will forever silently watch me, and those people do exist. There are people who've probably been watching me for a long time who will never make themselves known. And I don't dislike those people, but I will say that I do like it when people at least say, hey, I like what you do, and keep doing what you're doing. I enjoy that. But I know that there's probably only half, I would say only half of the people who watch me do that, which is a strange thought. There's so many people who watch me that I will probably never talk to because they don't make themselves known, and I don't quite understand why, but, you know, I don't really draw attention to it all the time, but I do find it weird. Anyway, what I will say is that this will all continue on as normal, in the sense that, you know, I will always record videos and there will always be almost cycles in what I record. You know, sometimes there'll be Let's Play recordings, sometimes there won't be. I'm sure plenty of people are watching me now who have never seen the Phantom Hourglass Let's Play because I hadn't recorded that since September of last year. There are people who probably don't realise that I have a Let's Play of Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, which I started in 2017, and have just not updated at all. I don't know what's going on with that. I'll have to figure out some way to actually bring myself to record that. But, you know, it's what I enjoy. I started off as a Let's Player. I can't pull myself away from that. I absolutely cannot. The closest that I could do to pulling myself away from Let's Playing was by doing it live. That was really the closest that I could get to that. That's not even my ideal when it comes to recording Let's Plays, doing it live. I enjoy that. It's interesting, but it adds a level of volatility to the recordings that I don't like when it comes to Let's Playing. I enjoy things being very structured. Not very structured, in the sense that I wouldn't be just starting the recording and just talking off the cuff. That's always going to be how it is done. But as far as the structure to editing it and uploading it and having full control over what is delivered and when it's delivered, that was just part of the package of what a Let's Play was in my mind, but it's not that way when you do it live, you see. It's, you know, it's happening right then and there. So it is different, and it did take me aback for a period of time. When I was doing my Phantom Hourglass Let's Play, there was a period of time when I just was not happy with doing it live at all. I was just... what was happening there was that I was getting annoyed by the fact that the colours for Phantom Hourglass just didn't look right. And they still don't look right. I don't know what that is. For some reason, the Virtual Console version of Phantom Hourglass, and I would say that this is likely a problem with DS games on the Wii U in general, the colours are fucked. Like, they're actually fucked up. There's like some problem with the gamma, or, you know, one of those settings. It's either the hue, the gamma, the contrast, one of those things, one of those is fucked, and I don't know how to fix it. Because it's not just one, actually. I think that's what I came to realise. I came to realise that playing with one of those didn't fix the problem. There was like some serious problem with the colours, and there still is a serious problem with the colours. But I thought it was something that I could fix at the time, and I was so frustrated that I was sitting here live trying to fix it. Because, you know, people will be sitting there watching me try to fix the colours of the damn game instead of watching me play the game. And I could have, under normal circumstances, just edited that out. That wouldn't have been a problem. But when you're live, you can't edit that out. That's the idea. That's something that really frustrated me at the time. But I have first and foremost gotten used to that. The idea that I can't just have a perfectly smooth recording because it is live. You just have to deal with the fact that you either get it right when you're recording in the moment, or you deal with the consequences. That's just life when recording live. And second of all, I've gotten used to the way the Phantom Hourglass looks now. It looks like balls, and I'm fine with that. The convenience of recording it on the Wii U with full touch controls on the gamepad is just, you know, that trumps the weird colours. And quite frankly, the colours only look weird if you do a side-by-side comparison, which I unfortunately get the whole time when I'm recording, because it looks perfectly fine on my gamepad, you have to understand. And then what's on the TV and what is being recorded looks like absolute donkey balls. So I don't know what that's about, but yeah, again, unless you're really comparing it, it's not something that you'd notice. And I've probably drawn attention to it to a degree now where you're probably going to be sitting there going, oh, this is bad, because, you know, when attention is drawn to something, then you just can't ignore it anymore. But again, my recommendation to you would be not to compare, because once you do compare, then it'll start to bother you. But anyway, that's fine, Hossein. I would say that's an extreme version of the problem that I have. You know, naked women or semi-naked women in baths get more views than me. It's not just that. It's, if you take it a few steps down from that, it's not about what you do, or rather, it's not about how you do it, it's about what you do. In the case of video content creation, if people don't want to watch the games, they don't watch you. That's just what it is. I talked about this very briefly I talked about this, or at least touched on this topic in a way, in my last Phantom Hourglass recording. I had a viewer named Jim, who watched me record this very game, and I think it was this game, no, it might have been Twilight Princess? Was it Twilight Princess that he watched? No, I think it was this game that he first watched. He was actually searching on YouTube for Japanese Zelda, because he's learning how to speak Japanese, and he likes Zelda games, so he actually made a very specific search, which was Japanese Wind Waker, probably. And he found my live stream, like I was live at the time. And he came in, and for me, like, that's such a... I mean, what are the chances of that? And he was a consistent Zelda viewer for that period of time. But then, as you've noticed, I haven't been recording as much Zelda over the last few months. And as a result, he eventually just left. Because he never wanted to watch anything that I did that wasn't Zelda. He was willing to watch non-Japanese Zelda stuff, but... You know, and then having said that, who's to say he's going to be able to watch me whenever I go live in Zelda, if it's not that often anyway? Like, imagine if I do one Zelda recording per week, which is still more than what I was doing for that period of time, like for the last few months. Who's to say that he is going to be able to make it to that? The reality was that that's exactly what was happening as well. There was the fact that I was doing a semi-regular Let's Play of the Minish Cap that he wasn't present for a lot of the time because he just wasn't available. And that's the reality of it. And he just disappeared, possibly never to return. So I don't know what that's about, but apparently if you personally do not record enough of what a person wants to watch, they don't want to watch you at all anymore. They'll just disappear forever. It's like, oh, it's not worth watching this person at all now, which I don't understand, because, you know, it's not like I've suddenly become less entertaining because I don't record it as often, but you've decided that you never want to watch me again. It's very odd, and I don't quite understand it, but yeah, that was a bit of an eye-opener. And what that does is it tells me not to bend over backwards for people, because some people, I mean, their viewership is so conditional that not playing that game or that type of game for a little while, you know, certainly, I mean, you have to understand, Zelda's like my favorite game series outside of Souls and Monster Hunter, and I will always return to it. Zelda is always going to be a big thing on my channel, but because I didn't record it for a period of time, he's gone forever. So, you know, it tells you not to sell yourself short or to do something that you ultimately don't want to do for a person who so easily disappears when you don't do what they want you to do. You know, that is the world of entertainment at the end of the day, which is unfortunate, but, you know, a person has to come to realize at some point that it's just not worth it. You know, do what you want to do and do your best to get an audience that will like what you do. That's just what it is. And it just so happens that primarily my audience is Monster Hunter's focus, which is great. I think that's great that my audience want to primarily watch Monster Hunter, because Monster Hunter is the game series that I think I'll play most on this channel. That's great. You know, if I get most of my viewership through Monster Hunter and then there's a side viewership for other games, that's excellent. I would rather the primary viewership be Monster Hunter than Zelda, because I think Zelda is the most different of all of those. I think there are more similarities between Souls and Monster Hunter than between Zelda and anything else that I record. So, yeah, but the funny thing is, it's not about me recording super different types of games and going, why don't people want to watch this? It's not like that, you know, I do stick to a genre, and that's action-adventure, RPG, that sort of thing. That's what I record. If you recall, when I wanted to do first-person shooter recordings, I was going to do a completely separate channel for that. There's a reason, it's because that does not in any way gel with all this other stuff that I do. But it seems that not even that's good enough. You know, I don't consider myself to be a variety streamer or a variety content creator, but apparently this is enough of a difference to constitute variety in that way, which is weird, you know, to the extent where everyone will watch Monster Hunter, but a very small number will watch Souls, and a very small number will watch all that other stuff. It's not something that concerns me necessarily, but it's interesting to see. It's interesting to take note of, because I didn't really expect that to be the case. I sort of did, but I was like, well, let's just see what happens. But no, that's how it eventuated. Got the Wind Waker market cornered. Well, I don't have the category set to Wind Waker here, because I'm not really playing, as you can see. I'm just sailing around, so I wouldn't want a person who wants to actually watch me play Wind Waker just see me sailing around. I mean, there's a percentage of people who don't want to play Wind Waker precisely because of the sailing, which I don't quite understand, but, you know, to each their own. I always found the sailing to be extremely enjoyable. I was not expecting to get on this subject, I will tell you. I was just going to talk about the current state of the channel, which was basically the fact that I was going to try and focus on Let's Plays again, and the fact that I had, you know, this new cable, and that I actually have a working capture card, and that I now have a Japanese Nintendo 64, but I ended up talking about, you know, my views on viewership I suppose to close out that subject, I will say that I value all of you who watch me, I really do, but if it seems like your viewership is entirely conditional upon how often I record something, I'm not going to record something that I don't want to record to keep you here. Seriously. And I don't want that to be taken personally. I want that to be taken as a sign that I'm not going to sell myself for anyone. I want that to be taken as a sign that it's important that I can do what I enjoy first, and then hope that other people will enjoy that. And this is also in the context of the fact that I'm not going to suddenly go and start recording FPS games and leave you behind. Like, if you hate FPS games, I'm not going to suddenly whip out an FPS game and only play that. I'm not going to suddenly start, doing only fighting games. The only time that I'm going to record something that is well outside of what I would normally record is if it's going to be for comedic purposes. Like, if I have what is obviously a really, really bad game and I want to do a quick live stream playthrough of this really, really bad game, and it happens to be in a genre that is very well outside of what I normally record, that's probably going to happen in the future. But that's not going to give rise to some sort of series on my channel that's going to be that. It's not going to be, oh, let's do fighting games and I'll record 3 fighting game videos every week. And some people would even like that, but what I want to be known is that I do stick to a style of game, and I have every intention of always recording Souls, of always recording Monster Hunter, and of always recording Zelda. So that is a reassurance that I hope will keep people here. It won't be enough to keep some people here, as we have come to realize, and I only mention this because I do value you guys. If I didn't value Jim, I wouldn't give a shit that he was gone. I wouldn't give a shit, but I do care. I'm very much disappointed that he has departed. But, that is the way it is. We've got an Octo here. Fucking bullseye, yeah, look at this. I'm the Octo Man. Not as to describe my visual appearance, but rather that which I excel in killing. I usually use the cannon because it's only one successful impact that will hit an eye and put it out permanently. If you're using the bow, it requires 2 arrows. It becomes easier as you get closer, it's worth mentioning. So, even though as you get closer you're at a higher risk of getting sucked in, you can be assured of the fact, oh, give me a fucking break. Now I'm actually at risk of getting sucked in. I have to get this one as it comes around. But yeah, obviously the higher risk of you doing that's better. Please? Oh, please. I'm actually going to get sucked in. I actually can't believe this. I might still be alright, but just trying to target that to make it easier. Please? Please hit that. I think I know the problem. Yeah, he's going to suck me in. Well, I kind of deserved that. Whatever. That particular eye refused to be hit. I think part of the problem was that I wasn't waiting for him to stop swaying from side to side. But, whatever. That is what it is. But, yeah. That's a 1 hour long update video, and I don't think I'm going to have it go on for much longer than this, because one thing you have to know about me is that I can sit here and crap on for a long time. I think what I'll say, just to relate to this game, is that I will do another live stream playthrough of this game. The previous one that I did was cancelled for the reason that the last recording that I did for it, which was in the Wind Temple, I was pretty moody for some reason. Like, I was quite unimpressed during that recording for some reason. I can't remember what it was, but I was just generally moody, and I felt that it spoiled it. Like, spoiled the whole thing, and I decided to, I'm very easy, I very easily scrap everything if one part of it sort of sullies the purity of the whole product, and that recording felt like that to me. Now, if you were to go and watch it, you probably wouldn't have a problem with it. You'd probably be like, yeah, this is fine. But it works out well in the end, because I have a better component cable this time, or a better cable, which is effectively the component cable. I will call it the component cable, because if I call it the D-terminal cable, most people are going to be like, huh? A component is, what that should indicate is that it's, the modern and good-looking cable, so I will call it the component cable. Because I have that now, when I redo the live stream, like the live stream playthrough series of this game, it's going to look better than it did before. Minus Jim, unfortunately, because he's gone, and I liked having him here because he was sort of like my point of confirmation for all the Japanese that I was reading. He would confirm that what I was saying was correct, or, let me know that a particular kanji has this meaning and is said in this way. That was nice to have, but unfortunately he won't be there for the re-recording of this, but that's alright. In fact, he was there for... This will actually mark the second re-recording and third recording of this game in Japanese. The first one was cancelled for reasons that I don't remember. The second one I do remember why it was cancelled, but this one is probably going to go ahead. And what I think I will do, however, is focus... I think I'm going to actually work on this save in my own time and get a completed save, and then work on a new save for the livestream playthrough. I'm not going to do it anytime soon for the reason that I have a lot that I want to work on that does not relate in any way to this livestream playthrough of this game. So I would like to get that stuff out of the way first before doing this, or at least make some progress with that other stuff before doing this. So I think that's the way forward. And I will continue playing this in my own time, get a 100% save, and then that'll be nice to just have there. I can say, well, this was the file that I had for my previous attempt, but I've gone and completed that file now. It's good. But, yeah, I think that's going to conclude my update video. It is a live update video. Usually I do these things non-live, but that's fine. My last live update video, I was trying to play... What was it? Aria of Sorrow on the Game Boy Advance while, talking, which was terrible because I have to focus way too much on that game. So I actually had to just sit at the pause screen the whole time because I was not able to get my thoughts together and play at the same time. It was more than what I could manage. So in the case of this game, I could just sail around and then focus on what I was talking about, but it's not really something that I can do in a game like Aria of Sorrow. So yeah, I have definitely made a better choice of game, and in the end, it did relate to what I wanted to talk about anyway. So there you go. I do thank you all for being here. I was not expecting so many of you to turn up, and I thank you if you've been here from the beginning, because I've been sitting here crapping on for a long time. It's what I do best, crapping on about, in some cases, nothing. That's why I started with Let's Playing in the first place, and I do thank you all for being here in general, and I also thank you for enjoying what I do. I'll see you all in the next thing that I record, and I bid you farewell for now. Bye-bye.